Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Talking Tottenham with myself, Ryan Taylor and Alasdair Gold. Talking Tottenham is sponsored by NordVPN. Ali, in the office today.
Yep.
Change of scenery, a new week for Tottenham, but unfortunately the same old mess. You're at the game. What were your initial reflections? Now you've had a few days actually to dwell on it.
I wish I hadn't had a few days to reflect on it, really. We've had... Yeah, I think the more I go back to it, I think the atmosphere was one of the best that we've had at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Probably in the last couple of years. It was very, very noisy. The fans were up for it. I think the change in manager, regardless of the rights or wrongs or whatever people think about it, I think it transformed how people felt going into the game. There was a bit of hope. Ultimately, we know it was slightly misplaced hope. But certainly the first half, it's the old cliche, but it was the 12th man with the team, and you felt that. And they got to the break at 1-1, and there was still a little bit of hope. We had a nice Dele Alli bit we can talk about a bit later, where he came out and it was all very emotional. Then we had this really awkward start to the second half, where the communications issues the referees and the linesmen had. And then from that point on, everything just went on a downward curve. And yeah, 4-1, dreadful result for a North London derby. Unfortunately, a fairly familiar result as well. A lot to do, and we'll talk about how Igor Tudor was after, but my goodness, he looked like a man who suddenly realised what is at stake and what is ahead of him at Tottenham.
It's funny, isn't it? Because in the build-up to the game, I think the last text I sent to you was that maybe the North London derby was looking a little bit more interesting after Arsenal obviously drew at Wolves. There was a feeling that maybe the kind of anxiety was starting to get to the team from down the road. But it's just a match really that summarised the golfing sort of class and quality between the two teams at this moment in time. Just on the lineup and the formation, obviously a real blow not having Dominic Solanke available.
Yeah, huge.
I mean, if you actually look at the starting 11 on paper, it is quite bad, isn't it? I mean, that's how I felt looking at it. It was really it was one of the games where I looked at and I thought, this team is actually, I know there's so much unavailability at this moment in time, but it's a really poor team on paper.
It's a makeshift team.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is. You've got two midfielders playing in defence. Mm-hmm. And you know, I think he must have been fully aware, Igor Tudor, when he came through the door of how many injuries he was going to be up against straight off the bat. And to have just 13 fit and available players, it's just madness. And I do feel for him, because in each of his 5 previous jobs he's gone in, won the first game, brilliant, got him on the upward trend. Coming to Tottenham, and he's like, where are the players?
Yeah.
Like, where are my players? I've got no one to work with. And so you've got a central midfielder playing the right of a back three in João Palhinha. You've got Archie Gray, a 19-year-old central midfielder, playing as a right wing back, which is just not his position. He was up against it from the start, and that was the team that was reflected out there. They didn't get forward very much. They didn't kind of attack the box, although it still had this sliding doors moment really in the second half with Randall Kolo Muani's disallowed goal, which we'll have a chat about, because I still have watched that so many times I can't work out why it was disallowed. But it's a team that, excuse me, is just, it's not built for a North London derby against a team that, like you say, is light years ahead of where they are right now. Spurs on an even footing with their full squad, with the likes of Kulusevski, Bentancur, Maddison, people like that available. Romero, forget about Christian Romero, wasn't even there. It's a different prospect. But yeah, I think those nerves could have been there in some moments, first half, and especially with that Kolo Muani goal ruled out, that might have provided a little bit of a scare for Arsenal, but ultimately it was just, they didn't have to get out of second gear, second half.
Just from the first sort of week or so, Ali, from what you've observed with Igor Tudor, I know you said that he's probably now realised the size of the task at the hand, but for any fans that are maybe concerned that, you know, he's the wrong appointment, what would you say in response to that? I know it's early days, but do you get the sense he's the kind of character that can oversee improvement?
Oh, absolutely. That's his MO. He is a football firefighter. That's what he does. It might be that the first game, and he admitted himself ahead of the game, it's probably not the ideal game to start off with. You're going to have, I think he said, a bigger motivation perhaps in a big derby like this, but ultimately to go in and you know, we're going to talk about it as well, he's had another couple of players come back into training. The first game was always going to be a big ask. But you look at his career, you look at what he did at Juventus, what he did at Lazio, what he did at Udinese twice. Even Marseille went in and got more points than the previous season. Hellas Verona, he went in and improved them. He is a guy that, regardless of what you make about what happens towards the end of his reign, a year in, let's say, what he does in those first 3 months improves teams. So I absolutely see the logic behind it, and I think any Spurs fan can look at that, look at his track record and know this is a guy that knows how to deal with such situations like this. Probably never on the scale that he's come into and the problems at Tottenham, but he will start getting help. Players will start coming back, and they've got games which, I hate to use the expression, but on paper, very much on paper with Tottenham, should be winnable. They've just got to come together. He wants them as a team. That's his big thing. He took them out for a big squad dinner by the looks of it as well. It's getting them to kind of fight for each other again. And, 2 more derbies to come in quick succession. They've got to start getting the points through the door.
Definitely. I think one of the key positives really from Sunday, Ali, was Randall Kolo-Muani. Obviously, we'll touch on the controversy, but it was clear to me that he was a player that we anticipated that he'd be able to get a tune out of Kolo-Muani, but that was like the Kolo-Muani that we saw maybe pre-Christmas when me and you discussed that actually he seemed to have found his feet and found a bit of form at Spurs. But is he someone you see as being key for the remainder of the season? Obviously, he's playing for his France spot, which we've also discussed before, but I really kind of thought the system suited him and he looks a real threat around the box.
Yeah, it's exactly what he needed. To see someone walk through the door that you've last season scored, 5 goals, 1 assist in 11 games under this guy, and it was a really good pairing. He knows how to get the best out of him. I do wonder whether we'll see the formation when Solanke is fully back for the next game, maybe go through a 3-4-1-2, and we see the 2 of them operating up front with each other. He was good. He was probably one of the few players to come away with credit out of the game. He ran at everything, he closed down. His goal was all about impressing and working hard, getting the ball off Declan Rice. And actually, it was a really lovely moment because we all thought he was going to attempt a shot that was going to get blocked. He had this awareness that he was about to potentially get tackled or blocked, took another touch, fires it into the bottom corner or past Raya. And it was a positive performance. I asked Igor Tudor about him among my questions after, and he said, I didn't take him off because he was bad. I was changing things, but he was really good. So I would imagine he'll be a fixture of this team going forward.
That's good to hear, really, because I do think both he and Solanke, although maybe stylistically you may feel there are some similarities between the two, I think they can work really together as a partnership. And we know Solanke likes to run in behind and stretch defences. And I see Kolo-Muani doing that as well. Obviously, the second goal, which has been a major frustration of mine over the past couple of days, so I can't imagine how you're feeling. But, I mean, have you seen the footage, I assume, of the referee, Peter Banks, on the camera?
No, I haven't yet.
No,
so tell me.
Obviously, there's this new ref cam where we've got the kind of reaction in real time of what's being said on the pitch. And his immediate reaction to the likes of Conor Gallagher was, it's a foul, end of, which is kind of, in my opinion, a little bit of an arrogant attitude, given that it wasn't necessarily majorly conclusive. No. And I actually think Gabriel has played the referee. Yes, there are sort of 2 hands on his back, but it's not a push with real force. It's theatrical from Gabriel. And I think Spurs have a right to feel hard done by because, again, we've talked about it so many times this season. In matches, there have been a lot of moments that have gone against Spurs, which have led to this kind of domino effect. And I'm not discrediting that Arsenal weren't worthy of the victory, but at that moment in time, it was such an important part of the game. You just felt if Spurs scored in front of the South Stand, it would really lift the place. Yeah,
it was a pivotal moment. It was. It felt like a sliding doors moment in the game. And I've got to admit, I was fooled as well at the time. I saw it in real time. I was like, yeah, that's a foul. That's never going to count. And then you watch it back, and it is the briefest of kind of almost like he's doing a fingerprint scanner. He's like barely touches him. And I mean, someone was saying to me that Gabriel has done that before. It's something that he does do in games. And I get it because the amount of times you'll see a player run to the corner flag and it's like, you don't even go near him. If you even breathe on him, that player is going to go down just in general. So, I think the biggest gripe for Spurs fans will be thinking about the Liverpool goal, Ekitike and Romero, where Romero was flung through the air and it was clearly a push. And this I think everyone connected with football, anyone that's seen it since, you've had former referees, you've had pundits have all come out and said, that is never a foul. And that will be, there's definitely a frustration bubbling up among the Spurs fans about the way Spurs are treated in games.
Yeah.
There's some numbers doing the rounds of Spurs have kind of had more bookings or red cards per fouls and things like that. They're getting treated quite harshly on stuff. Look, don't get me wrong, Spurs are dreadful at the moment as well. That is not the sole reason that Tottenham are having a tough time. But certainly, yeah, that was a moment where you just felt it was almost like a fork in the road. The game could have gone that one way, and unfortunately it went right down a hill into disaster.
I don't know about you, Ali, but I was watching Everton v Manchester United on Monday night, and from a lot of the corners, you had like players sort of rugby tackling each other, wrestling, and it just feels to me like I absolutely love football, but the more I watch Premier League football at this moment in time, the amount of soft fouls like that. I also hate the one where a player is sort of chasing after the player and he just sort of anticipates the contact, falls on the ball, and the ref falls for it every time. And I just feel like we need to have a real clear kind of debrief at the end of the season amongst the PGMOL and the referees about the standards, because you're right, I think that is a clear incident to me where it should have been refereed better and maybe VAR should have stepped in. And, even hearing, I think it was Peter Banks say it's a foul, end of. I mean, to be that certain, I think there's almost, as I said, an arrogance about that. And I just fear for the quality of the Premier League, it's kind of spoiling the spectacle. We know this season's become a lot about set pieces and sort of running, and we don't kind of see any real mavericks or quality from individuals as much anymore. I don't know how you feel about that, but that's certainly something that has frustrated me over the past couple of weeks. Yeah,
I think that's the thing with VAR, isn't it? You kind of lose the flow. You use the flow to the game, but also you lose just the benefit of the doubt going to attacking teams. So you're going to get less kind of thrilling, entertaining games because goals are just going to be taken away for the merest things. And you're right, I saw that game as well, and you see it in all the games. Like, there is this kind of rugby tackling, throwing themselves at each other, pulling shirts all over the place, and it's like, well, where's the line? Where's exactly the threshold for these things? And it's a mess right now, and that's the problem with so many new things being introduced each season, is there's no consistency because no one knows exactly where they're meant to be making a certain decision, where exactly the threshold is, and everyone's just guessing and trying to work it out mid-game.
Let's talk about Igor Tudor a bit more.
Yeah.
I wasn't actually at the game. I was away, but I was listening to the atmosphere in the build-up on TalkSport, and it sounded ferocious. Sam Matterface and the other broadcasters were saying it's spine-tingling in here, and it really sounded deafening, and you've touched on that already. Someone seemed to suggest that Tudor was watching the warm-ups as well quite intensely. So talk a bit about that and what that might do for both the opposition and Spurs.
Yeah, so we weren't used to seeing Thomas Frank out there in the warm-ups. That wasn't really something. Once in a blue moon, you'd see him kind of come out. A bit like Ange. Ange Postecoglou wasn't really out there. Sometimes in European games he would do. But to see kind of Igor Tudor, it was actually, he split his time as well. Sometimes he was watching Spurs, but actually a lot of the time he was watching Arsenal. Yeah. It was almost like a last-minute scouting mission, like what are they doing here, how are they likely to set up.
Because Jurgen Klopp used to do that, didn't he, as well?
Yes, he did. I remember seeing Jurgen Klopp watching the Spurs players so many times. It was interesting to see the way it worked like that, because we've kind of gone from a manager who's very much not man on the sidelines, but I guess he kind of is. But Igor Tudor, he's going to be a force, he's going to be a personality, and we felt that in his first press conference, in his second one as well after the game. He's going to be a guy that comes in, he's going to do things his way, and it's kind of get on board or get out. I kind of feel like he's going to have that mentality. And I just thought that was another little moment of watching, learning, and because this is the thing, everything's about learning on the job for him right now. He doesn't know these players, doesn't know the way the Spurs players are, he doesn't know the opposition they're facing either. And every moment he's trying to soak it up. So it was an interesting little kind of aside really in the game before it.
And one particular clip that's been doing the rounds in the past few days, Ali, is Igor Tudor sort of on the sideline trying to coach the defence and maybe get them up the pitch a little bit. I think Mickey has maybe received an unfair bit of flack in light of this clip, because it looks as though Tudor is talking to Mickey, but he's not. He's talking to the collective, Radi Dragusin as well. I mean, talk to me about Tudor's kind of conduct throughout the game in terms of how he behaves. Is he someone, do you feel, that's going to have a lot of arguments with the fourth official? Is he wanting to kick every ball from the touchline? And if so, is that a good thing? It can only be so, surely. Yeah,
he's an animated guy. It depends. I mean, I think people get a little bit hung up on the demeanour of the manager. I mean, I've seen, over the years, we've had Conte, an absolute madman on the touchline, achieved nothing by doing it, but it looked great. And you had the opposite with Ange Postecoglou, who would stand there observing the game. He said himself, I don't want to be distracted by doing this or this. I want to see and observe and know what I need to do. And then Thomas Frank was a bit of a different animal to from a press conference to how he was on a touchline. He was argumentative. You could see him having arguments with everyone. And Igor Tudor, it's like we say, it is definitely a presence on the touchline. And that moment, he was never saying it to Mickey van der. He's saying it to the whole backline. If anything, it's more towards Dragusin. Because what he wanted them to do, wanted the back three to push up, squeeze the space, leave lefts, kind of room for Arsenal to do what they were doing, which was constantly finding these little pockets in the midfield. And there's another clip doing the rounds where you can see Mickey van der Ven telling the back three to come up. So, people like a scapegoat. And I kind of feel like they've latched on Mickey van der Ven's moment with Thomas Frank.
To Chelsea.
They're like, he doesn't care anymore, he wants out.
It's unfair, isn't it? Because it builds a narrative that is just not true. And it does frustrate me, some of those clips, because they are angled in certain ways. And, online, the way things work, people jump on them very quickly. But
and that's our job, though. Our job is to kind of tell you, when we're sat in the stand, the whole picture. And that's what we try and do with this podcast as well, because we know social media. It never gives you the full kind of context.
No, it doesn't. So in terms of the games coming up, Ali, I mean, I actually have to counter something that you mentioned earlier in the show, that you felt there was a lot of winnable games, so to speak, on paper. Not
on paper.
Not to put words in your mouth, but I actually fear the opposite. Just to play devil's advocate a bit, is that my fear is that if Spurs do not win some of these upcoming games, it's going to go to the wire almost. And
could do.
Obviously, we don't know what's going to happen yet, so it'd be easy to say that. But Fulham away on Sunday, we know Fulham are a team that can beat anyone in the league on paper. Palace at home obviously picked up a win against Wolves at the weekend. Liverpool away, which is always tough. Then Forest at home and Sunderland away. I mean, like you say, on paper, those five, you'd fancy Spurs in a normal season to fancy themselves in probably 4 of those 5. But I almost don't see where the win comes from, which is so maybe cynical, but I really do feel that way at the moment, just the way the squad is. And I'm starting to really get concerned that Spurs genuinely could get sucked right in.
I think a lot of people are. I don't think you're alone. I don't like going to Craven Cottage with Spurs. For some reason, almost every time I've seen them, Fulham have just played really well, and they've dominated a lot of the time. They've given Spurs the runaround for long portions of the game. I don't know what it is. It's just like a bit of a bogey ground. That one they're going to have to be absolutely on it. I mean, Palace at home, Palace struggling at the moment. It would be classic Spurs if, let's say, Glasner left and Thomas Frank came in. And you'd have Thomas Frank coming back to the Spurs stadium and playing incredible expansive football. Who knew? They've got to. They've just got to do it. It's got to the point where there's no more excuses. I know there's their injuries, but we've got Danso and Porro back in training today. They've got to be kind of integrated back in. You suddenly then have a proper back three. You've got a right back or wing back who can put in the crosses and everything. I think once you have the team looking like that, and maybe you've got Paulinho Gallagher in the middle, you're starting to look like a team that should be winning matches. And there's mostly 5-6 days between games at the moment. That then kind of negates slightly the whole injury side. Of course, you're missing key big players, but and still Romero out for another couple of games as well. But you should still have a team that can beat these sides on paper. But yes, I agree. I think they need to turn things around this week quickly. If they don't get at least, I'd say, 4 points, if not 6, I think you're really starting to look down beneath you. And obviously, that's the trouble as well with West Ham and Forest. They're kind of proving that they could maybe pick up points here and there.
Exactly.
And yes, that would scare me as well.
Just wanted to touch on something Igor Tudor said after the game, just that basically the players executed in terms of kind of the energy and the passion and the work rate, what he expected of them, what he demands from them physically. But when it came to kind of technical quality, obviously we mentioned that the golfing class was, ridiculous. So is that not the biggest concern, Ali, that maybe these players just aren't actually as good as maybe we think on paper?
Maybe. I don't know if I want to give them that.
That's how I'm
excuse.
starting to feel, because I look at the squad and I just don't see a stream of creativity and these different attacking qualities. And I know the team can create chances and stuff, but I just don't think they play well together. And that's my concern. It's not like they're just out of form. I think generally it's been such a large sample size over the course of the season that actually this team can't really play together that well.
Being devil's advocate myself, then I'll go the other way.
Yeah.
Is it the quality of play? I mean, Igor Tudor straight away came in through the door and said, "I'm it's probably one of the most talented kind of group of players he's worked with." I would suggest, and this has been my big bugbear of the season so far, is what have they been working on in attacking sessions and training? Because I still don't see, and even players that aren't top level can string 3-4 passes together in a row. They just can. And we don't see it. Honestly, when 3 passes go together, we're like, ooh, it's like this really amazing thing. And it's just because we're not used to seeing that. There are no triangles still of passing patterns of play. And I think that's where my main issue lies with it. It's a team that's maybe been trained and worked on to defend and fix the issues of last season. Those weren't fixed. And actually, it almost feels like the attacking side of the game has been kind of left and neglected and sitting in a dark corner somewhere. Because now you look at the way they play, and you've got someone like Xavi who should be interlinking with all these different players and knowing exactly what to do. And it's almost like a Sunday League team. Everyone sent WhatsApp messages and they've all turned up for the day, and you don't know who's playing. It's just like, honestly, they're trying to learn each other's games. So I think that will be a massive thing for Igor Tudor and his coaches to work on straight away. Is right, whatever you've been told before, with no disrespect to the previous lot, this is now how you're going to do it. And you've got to do this, you've got to do this. I want to see balls into the box. If we've got Solanke and Kalamwani, I want to see deep crosses coming into them. I want to see second ball. The amount of times Spurs lost the second ball the other day was just disgraceful. I want to see you winning the second ball. There's a lot of ways to quickly improve the attack, I think. Easy. Yeah. I think Ben Davies called it in pre-season low-hanging fruit. And that's exactly what it is. There's a lot of things that they can immediately tailor towards the qualities of a Xavi or a Solanke, and they can sort that out. So, yeah, I know what you mean about the quality, and I do think it's because they're lacking some of their bigger, better players, but I still think there's enough quality there to do what they need them to do.
Ali, we're around about the halfway point now. A slightly shorter episode today as we're in the studio. And we're going to swap roles, because I'm going to tell the people about the benefits of using NordVPN. So, if you're away on holiday and you want to watch some of your shows that are back home in the UK, you can switch your device using Nord. So it believes it's back in the UK. You've also got private protection on your details, such as your bank passwords and your online identity, so it keeps everything nice and secure. And also, on the flip side, if you want to watch sporting events or TV shows that are available in another country, you can do so while back in the UK. You can also have up to 10 devices on one account. To get the best discount off your NordVPN plan, please go to nordvpn.com/talkingtottenham. Our link will also give you 4 extra months on the 2-year plan, and there is no risk without Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. The link is in the podcast episode description box below. And we've also got a great deal for you with Saley as well. Ali's going to tell you about that.
Does it feel weird that I feel like I've been cheated on by Nord and the words? I'm so used to hearing them coming out of my mouth.
It's like when the replacement is a lot worse. It's like you miss your ex.
No, not at all. It just felt really strange. I was like, oh, I'm used to kind of that coming from me. People have heard me speaking about Saley before. It's superb. It really is a great product from Nord. You can go around the world, you can use it instead of using your network's roaming fees, you're kind of saving all of that as well. It's a very affordable eSIM data plan that you can use. I think you can use it into over 200 destinations as well. It's very cool. I've used it for both work and holiday. I've been in far-flung parts of the globe, and Sailly's been an excellent, cheap way to use all of my devices, connect, and be on the World Wide Web wherever I am, wide around the world. It's very fast and reliable internet connection as well. And yeah, it's a terrific product. And again, we've got an offer for you. If you can either download Sailly in your app store and you can use the code TalkingTottenham, that's one way to do it, or you can go to sailly.com/TalkingTottenham and you'll get 15% off your first purchase. So yeah, plenty to save on both Nord and Sailly.
Fantastic, Ali, thank you. And just going back to the discussion we had slightly before that about the players and what Tudor has to get out of them. I mean, one thing I'm looking forward to in particular, you mentioned Pedro Porro was back in training.
Yeah.
I mean, he hasn't really been unleashed too many times since maybe the days of Conte in that wing-back role. Obviously, naturally, he was signed as a wing-back from Sporting. It was a role he really sort of thrived in during his time in Portugal. So I think he is someone, given that we've had the likes of Archie Gray sort of shoehorned in, that can make a real difference. And I know there have been some fans that have been sort of critical of Porro this season, but I really think he's a great player. And we know obviously Thomas Frank thought very highly of him as well. I think Igor Tudor can really use him as a key figure to maybe improve things at this moment in time.
100%. He is. We can all have qualms over certain aspects of his defending, although I would say that's been within a system that hasn't been the best unit as a defence as well. So I think he's kind of suffered from that as well. But yeah, 100%. Going back to what he did at Sporting, being a wing-back, taking away some of those defensive elements from his game, he is, I've said it before, probably one of Spurs', if not the best, but the second best playmaker in the entire squad. I think maybe Maddison and him.
Yeah,
and Xavi obviously has got the a claim now as well. But my goodness, the way Porro can put the ball on using old terminology, like a sixpence, just a diagonal crossfield ball. He can cross it in. If I'm Solanke, Richarlison, Kolo Muani, even Tell, if he ever gets a chance, I think they'll be licking their lips seeing Porro back on the right hand side, because it's just another string to kind of Tottenham's bow that they just haven't had, and we're not used to that because he's been so available. He's been one of those guys that I don't think he's had a single injury. I think he maybe missed one game, possibly through illness once at Spurs, and to have him out for what has been a month or so, it's been a big miss. And to be combined with a doggy being out, so Jed Spence is to be on the left, where I actually used to think he was better on the left. Now I'm starting to see a period of his kind of season where he actually feels quite limited there.
Yeah.
And he actually, when he went on the right the other day, just looked that little bit better. And I just think it's come at a bad time for Tottenham to have Spence on the left, Archie Gray in an unnatural position. Yeah, we've seen him play right back, but wing back again. Like you say, it's a different role. Yeah. It's a far more attacking role to play. And Porro's going to be huge coming back. And I think Danso as well. Even those long throws. Yeah. But also, he was playing well, Danso, as well. He was one of Spurs' better players. So, again, I could just imagine Igor Tudor just got to the end of that game and was like peering in the treatment room. Just kind of like, anyone, come out on this side. Because they desperately need people back. And Porro and Danso, I think, are two pretty important ones. How long's Romero got? Is it 2 more?
I think so, 2.
Yes, so 2 more, and they need him back as well. I mean, that's
back for the trip to Liverpool, wasn't he? So that's an important
that's a biggie,
one,
isn't it? It just feels like, look, we can have massive gripes about the transfer window. I still believe they didn't do enough in it, regardless of kind of the explanation of it after. But also, Romero's got to take some of the brunt of responsibility for the time the club desperately needed him. He wasn't there for them. And don't get me wrong, he's been there in other big moments before, but this is a crucial period when Spurs haven't got him.
What's the latest on Solanke, Ali, as well? Because I was quite surprised to see him miss out. You'll know more than me, but from what I read, he said there was a problem with his throat. I assume that's illness as opposed to kind of an injury. So if that's the case, would you assume he'd be okay for Fulham alongside Danso and Porro?
Yeah, I think so. He was on antibiotics. He didn't exactly say what it was, but we're presuming it's some kind of infection, as people can probably hear in the back of my throat. I've had a throat infection recently as well. So and it's something that kind of knocks out everything within your system. You have a fever, you can all that sort of stuff. So I'd imagine it was a bigger thing than I saw some people saying that he was like useless for not playing and all this sort of stuff. It's like, no, it will be something far bigger than that. And also, the amount of energy required for a normal Premier League game, then take a North London derby. I'm sorry, there's no way.
Also with his workload
and his
workload,
yeah, exactly. There is no way that someone that's had an infection in their body and needed antibiotics is going to be at the required level. It's just not. Even though Colomwani was very good, they did miss Dominic Solanke in his hold-up play, absolutely. So yeah, I'd imagine, barring anything else horrendous having happened this week in Tottenham and further injuries, he should be back in it. There was a suggestion that Mickey van der Ven didn't train today, but apparently there was nothing behind that. He was just spending some time in the gym, so we'll see on that. But yeah, no more injuries, please.
Fingers crossed. Just before we go, Ali, I wanted to ask you about the interview with Johan Lang last week. You and some of the other Spurs pack got the chance to ask him some questions, which I have to praise because we've talked about it before. But I'm really keen to see sporting directors, not just at Tottenham, and the powers that be, front up some of the questions that the managers have to, when sometimes maybe they've been thrown under the bus a little bit in terms of transfer activity or decisions that have been made internally. But to get the chance to do that was rare, but also really positive. So just give us the rundown of kind of the questions, the key talking points, and also how you guys kind of felt getting the opportunity to do that.
Yeah, I'm with you in the fact that while I don't really I don't feel I 100% agreed with a few of the things he said. I think the fact that he did it was a massive plus. I think the logic behind it was that they didn't want Igor Tudor going into his first press conference having to be bombarded with questions about things he would have no idea on, and had come before him. So I respected that. I respected the fact that they were actually doing something proactive in that respect, and it's been something that people knows, I can't stand it over the years, the lack of communication out of the club. So that 100% needs to be applauded, whether he was kind of not forced into it, but because of the new manager kind of had to do it. And I should say, I mean, a few years back, Jose Mourinho was sacked. Ryan Mason came in, and there was no explanation from above before that. That poor guy, I think he was 29 years old, and his first caretaker job, had to go into a press conference and talk about the Super League and stuff like that. So this is not like, it was not a given that they were going to do this. So they went out and did it, and it was quite a small circle of journalists sat around him, and without putting a finer point on it, we grilled him. We absolutely chucked everything at him that the fans might have wanted us to ask. We tried to get everything in there. I mean, I straight away, I think my first or second question was, you did this huge selection process with Thomas Frank. 30 different candidates, 10 different criteria. You got the wrong man.
Yeah.
So is your selection process completely broken? And it was like, oh, no. And it was all kind of a little bit fluffy around how it wasn't. I still don't agree with that.
Yeah.
But the fact was he was facing these questions and he was asked about the transfer window. He was asked about could they have brought in another couple of short-term players and things like that. And he was discussing the fact that, again, as he said before in his club interview, that the players just aren't there, he felt. We've seen a few players come into the Premier League in January and do very well. Everyone's going to point to Ryan, of course, at Bournemouth as a potential player that could have come in and improved this team. So, yeah, I do feel like it was a worthwhile exercise. What I would say about him is an interesting character in that he's no showman. Yeah. He is not like an Ange Postecoglou that's going to hold a room. Yeah. He is very much
softly spoken,
more of an introverted character, absolutely. So it was very much a case of kind of trying to get what we could. I think he was very carefully, I'm not going to say media managed in it, but was very keen not to give too much away, but enough to explain things. So was I 100% happy with what came out of it? No. But was I 100% happy that it actually happened? Absolutely. And he kind of reiterated, as previously we've been reporting, that they're going to go big in the summer, the wage structure's being improved. But the problem is, as was put to him in a question, a lot of talk, no action. And that's kind of what we need to see from Tottenham.
That was the concern, wasn't it, ahead of January, that basically a lot had been said about the money injected by the Lewis family, but we didn't see that in January really outside of Conor Gallagher and poor Caesar.
I know.
Really arrived in a catastrophic mess. Just before we go, a key point really, Ali, is that Spurs will discover their Champions League opponents on Friday, so you'll have to get booking your flights to either. It looks likely Madrid or Istanbul. Obviously, Galatasaray leading Juventus 5-2. They play the second leg in Turin tonight. Atletico winners over Club Brugge, so that is going to be interesting. I think both teams are quite difficult for Spurs at this moment in time, but we'll have the full reaction on the football.london website, and you'll also be speaking to Igor Tudor ahead of the trip to Craven Cottage, won't you?
Yep, we've got Igor at, I think it's 1 or half 1 tomorrow, so we'll get all the latest injury news as well. Obviously, we won't be able to get his Champions League thoughts yet, but there's both ties would be plenty of narratives. You know, Conor Gallagher, going back to Atletico.
Tudor's ex-club. Galatasaray.
Absolutely, Tudor's ex-club, Simeone wanting Romero.
Yes.
There is so much to it. So we'll see.
Brilliant, thank you, Ali. And to get the best discount off your NordVPN plan, please go to nordvpn/talkintottenham. Our link will also give you 4 extra months on the 2-year plan, and there's no risk with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. The link is in the podcast episode description box below.